Hey guys, what's shaking? So I wanted to make this video to give you some tips on how to immerse yourself in a language without traveling, because usually when we start learning a language, the first kind of general tip that we're given is to go and travel to whatever country that speaks the language you're learning. And sometimes that's not our first available option. Or maybe you're learning a language because you want to travel to that country in like a few years or months or whatever it is. So I'm going to give you some tips that helped me when I taught myself a language. And the number one thing is finding good websites. There are a lot out there, so sometimes it's hard to find a good one at first, and maybe you're searching too much and you can't actually reach one, or you're going back and forth because not one has all the available material that you want. So I found this website really helpful, was IE Languages. So they have like 12 different languages on there. They have like French, Spanish, Italian, Croatian, Norwegian, Danish, Dutch. They have a lot on there, so I'm going to put a link in the description. And some languages have more material than others in their course so far, but generally they have a lot of good solid basic information, and some even have go into depth about all the tenses. It's really great. I found it really helpful for Italian, and I know they have a lot for French and Spanish as well. So there's also a lot of apps out there. One that I used a lot was Duolingo, and they have that on your phone, but I found it more helpful on my computer because you're typing more and that's good for the memory. And I also have a blog out there that might be helpful. I'll put that link in the description. I'll put everything I talk about in the description. And Quizlet. I have my own Quizlet account, so I always made Quizlet sets for whatever language or vocabulary I was learning. I have a lot of different sets for different languages on my Quizlet, but I do have some typos in some of them that I'm trying to go back and correct, but I'll also put the link to it in the description, so maybe you'll find that helpful. So when choosing a language, sometimes people choose it because they know native speakers, which is also really helpful, but for some languages that you want to learn, like Chinese, Spanish, Japanese, there's always going to be a lot of native speakers out there where you live in general, so you're probably going to make some contact with people, meet some new people. That's always fun. So it's always a great way to practice that language. So knowing native speakers and meeting native speakers is going to be super helpful when you're learning a language. And even if you don't know any now, you're bound to meet someone in the future that can help. And there's always pen pal sites too that you can find. There's a lot out there. And another thing that helped me was watching TV. So I really like the show The Walking Dead, and I've seen most of the episodes, and I started watching it on the Spanish channel. And the great thing about that is, since you've already seen the episode and you're watching it in another language, if there's vocab or some sort of conversation that you're not catching up with right away, you're bound to kind of assume, since you already know what's happening, that this word goes with this word, and you'll remember it and you can look it up later, and now you learn new words. So, it's not a waste of time if you're watching The Walking Dead in Spanish and not doing your homework, still learning. Also, if you've been watching Fear the Walking Dead this season, they're in Mexico right now, so I'm pretty sure that also counts as studying because they're doing a lot of Spanish speaking right now in this season. It's on Sunday, so you don't want to miss that. And even if you're not learning Spanish, you're learning a different language, if English is your native language, there's a lot of dubbing for just any show in English in another language. So you can really kind of look up on YouTube and see what they have for that. And voice dubbing isn't terrible. You can't tell sometimes even. It's pretty awesome for certain shows. It's not as terrible as you think, so give it a try. If you don't like it, there's always other options. And you want to pick a show that interests you, or a hobby like watching sports in this language, or watching a cooking show, even reading, reading a cooking book, reading a book you've already read in your native language and reading again in another language. That also helps, especially for pronunciation. Music helps. And if you're learning let's say Spanish, and you're listening to a band that's from Spain versus a band from South America, it's really cool to see how those accents are different, and that's always something cool to pick up on. So as always, if you have any questions, you can comment them, or any concerns at all, really feel free to comment. I'll catch you in the next video. Adios.